Welcome viewers. To begin with the discussion on various frameworks of strategy, today we will be discussing about contemporary strategy structure thesis. I have already discussed BCG matrix and Chandler's strategy. We will cover some examples with regard to BCG matrix and Chandler's strategy. Miles and Snow's four strategic types and its applications. Further, we are going to discuss Porter's competitive strategy, various types of competitive strategies, industry structure relationship, and how strategy follows structure. So, what corporate portfolio analysis, as we have already discussed, it talks about how managers manage portfolio or various collections of businesses using a corporate portfolio matrix known as BCG matrix, which was developed by Boston Consulting Group, considers market share and industry growth rate, and it classifies firms based on the anticipated growth rate and market share as four different quadrants: cash cows, where the growth rate is very low and high market share; stars is the category where high growth rate and high market share; question marks, high growth rate and low market share; and dogs emphasizes on low growth rate and low market share. So, there are certain examples that we would like to discuss here. Stars: Apple iPhone dominates in evolving and dynamic market. It must continuously invest in research and development and marketing to maintain its leadership against its competitors Samsung and Google. Similarly, in the cash cow segment, Coca-Cola can be considered as a best example. Coca-Cola Classic Beverage has an established dominant market share in a mature, low growth soft drink industry. PepsiCo's Lay potato chips holds a massive market share in the generally stable, mature snack food market. It is highly profitable and generates significant cash flows for the PepsiCo with minimal need for substantial new investment. Further, we will also give some examples of question marks. Apple's streaming service competes in the high growth market of digital streaming, but currently holds a relatively small market share compared to the leaders like Netflix and Amazon Prime. While the electric vehicle market is growing rapidly, many traditional automakers like Toyota, General Motors have a low market share in this segment compared to the pioneers like Tesla. Dogs category: with the rise of streaming service and smartphones with music capabilities, the standalone MP3 player market has declined significantly. The Apple iPod has a low market share in the low growth market and is essentially a dog product. That means which has low market share and low growth rate. A product that Apple has completely, this product, Apple iPod, has been phased out. In a mature soda market with consumer sentiment shifting towards healthier alternatives, some analysis classify Diet Coke as a dog due to the low growth and a declining market share, declining share relative to a popular brand like other Coke products. Now, further discussing about the Chandler strategy, Alfred Chandler proposed relationship between strategy and structure in his book Strategy Structure. The propositions are: structure must follow and align with the growth strategy. Change in strategy create administrative problems, requires new configured structures, formulate long-term goals, and then design a suitable structure. Misalignment in the strategy and structure leads to inefficiencies. We would like to discuss about some prominent examples of Chandler's structure follows strategy principle. It illustrates how firms adjust their structures to accommodate growth and diversification. Bharti Airtel is a major telecommunication company's expansion strategies necessitated change in a structure to manage increased complexity of its operations. Application of Chandler's ideas based on the review of 100 Indian companies' cases have given us an overview of diversification, global convergence, geographical expansion, As Indian companies have grown and diversified into new market and product lines, they have moved away from the rigid functional structures. Due to global convergence, with the opening of Indian economy, companies are increasingly adopting global standards for strategy structure alignment, moving towards a flexible, multi-divisional or M form of structure similar to those adopted by the US corporations like General Motors and DuPont. Geographical expansion of some Indian organizations have followed geographical structures to effectively manage the diverse characteristics of different regions. Very common example is Indian Railways, which has a geographical spread. Then further we will discuss about two frameworks for selecting strategy and design. A strategy is nothing but a plan of action. It's a plan for interacting with the competitive business environment. Strategies can include any number of techniques to achieve the goal of an organization. Models exist to aid in formulating strategy. Michael Porter's competitive strategy, Miles and Snow's strategy typology. As we all know, Michael Porter has given five forces model and which defines the intensity of rivalry among current competitors. It depends on new entrants or threat of new entrants, threat bargaining power of buyers, threat of substitute products, bargaining power of suppliers, and the intensity of rivalry. The threat of new entrants is the difficulty or ease with which new competitors can enter an industry. Threat of substitute products, the extent to which switching cost and brand loyalty affect likelihood of customers adopting substitute products and services. Bargaining power of buyers, the degree to which buyers have the market strength to hold sway over and influence competitors in an industry. Bargaining power of suppliers, the relative number of buyers to suppliers and threat from substitutes and new entrants affect the buyer supplier relationship. And lastly, the current rivalry or intensity of rivalry in the industry. Intensity among rivals increases when the industry growth rate slows down, demands fall, and product prices descend. Michael Porter proposes management must select a competitive strategy that will give its organization a competitive advantage. Further discussing about the competitive strategy. What is a competitive strategy? A strategy which is focused on how an organization will compete in each of its strategic business units or SBUs. A strategy focused on how an organization will compete with its various strategic business units by adopting cost leadership strategy, differentiation strategy, and focus strategy. Cost leadership talks about seeking to attain the lowest total overall cost relative to other industry competitors. Differentiation strategy emphasizes on attempting to create a unique and distinctive product or service for which customers will pay a premium price. Focus strategy emphasizes on using both cost and differentiation advantage to exploit a particular market segment rather than a larger market. We have discussed about differentiation, which focuses on uniqueness, for example, for a broader scope, or the Apple's example would be the best. For a narrow scope, highly focused approach like Amul, and we will further discuss each of these with some examples. Low cost leadership, it focuses on efficiency, low cost. Examples would be Walmart, and in the narrow scope, the example is Safari travel packages and so on. Application of Michael Porter's business strategy in India. Cost leadership, the goal to become lowest cost producer, which allows firms to offer lower prices or achieve higher profit than competitors. For example, Tata Steel has achieved cost leadership in steel manufacturing by leveraging captive mines for raw materials, iron ore, coal, etc., and access to low cost labor, which helps in withstanding the price fluctuations and maintain efficiency. Reliance has also become a leader in various sectors by focusing on efficient production, economies of scale, and innovation in production methods to maintain a low cost base. Nirma in the detergent segment or detergent industry successfully challenged established players by offering extremely low cost product which is driven by efficient and low cost manufacturing process. They emphasize on manufacturing processes as their core competitive advantage. Airlines, in case of airlines, there are low cost carriers in India like Indigo, GoAir, which utilizes the strategy by offering no frills. That means they do not give any extra advantage, or they do not give anything, any extra service, and are aiming at a high asset turnover to spread fixed cost over a large number of units. Differentiation strategy involves creating a product or service that is perceived as unique across the industry, allowing the firm to charge a premium price or which as a competitive advantage. This uniqueness can be based on the design of the product, on the brand image, the technology, or customer service. Titan watches, for example, it has successfully differentiated itself by offering products with an international look, with a very stylishly designed premium quality product and excellent post sales service through exclusive showrooms, and appealing to Indian customers, or the catering to the needs of the customers for sophisticated and durable watches. Asian Paints, this company has also differentiated itself through strong brand management, extensive distribution network, and a focus on product innovation and quality. HDFC Life leverages unique activities across the value chain to create competitive advantage and offer distinctive solutions, various solutions to customers. Maruti Suzuki differentiates different variants of its cars by adding specific features like air conditioning, safety bags, different emission compliance norms to cater to varied customers' needs and price points. Focus strategy, on the other hand, involves targeting a specific niche market segment and tailoring a strategy, that means either through the cost or differentiation, to serve the unique needs of the segments better than the competitors. For example, Quality Groups, India's largest producer of LEDs and optoelectronic products, operates in a very specialized market, achieving leading position through technology and price leadership within the niche segment. Mother Dairy and ICICI Lombard creates shared value by identifying and addressing the specific social needs or societal needs, like for example, milk farming communities or specific insurance segments as a business opportunity. They are effectively creating new market space. Michael Porter have highlighted concept of creating shared value, that means with an argument that companies have a unique opportunity to address to the societal needs through the core business strategy rather than just addressing the corporate social responsibility programs. With this approach, the societal problems or social problems or potential business opportunities can be addressed, leading to economic success and social progress. For instance, Nestle has been working for milk farming communities in India, which exemplifies creating economic gains while making a societal impact. So, what we have discussed so far is the role of competitive advantage, an organization's distinct competitive edge based on which it can leverage over its competitors. Quality can be a competitive advantage. Quality of products, quality of services differentiates the firms from its competitors. It can create a sustainable competitive advantage, represents the company's focus on quality management to achieve continuous improvement of various products, services to meet the customers' demands for quality. Finally, we discuss about what is sustainable competitive advantage, continuing over time to effectively exploit resources and develop the core competencies like the land, capital, infrastructure, machinery, brand image, human capital. These are the core competencies, both tacit and explicit core competencies that enable an organization to keep its edge over its industry competitors. So, industry and structure relationship strategy may merely be an intermediary step between the unique characteristics of industries that affect the structure they will choose. Strategic management today talks about strategic flexibility. Because there is intensity of competition in the business environment, we cannot manage to have a firm which is sustainable without adopting flexibility. So, therefore, organizations should adapt to the changes in the business environment and be more flexible. There are new directions in organizational strategies like e business, customer service, innovation. Creating strategic flexibility is knowing what is happening with strategies currently being used by monitoring and measuring the results. Encourage employees to be open about disclosing and sharing negative information, get new ideas and perspectives from outside organizations, have multiple alternatives when making strategic decisions, and learning from the past mistake. There are strategies for applying e-business techniques like cost leadership on online activities, bidding, order processing, inventory control, recruitment and hiring, differentiation like internet-based knowledge systems, online ordering and customer support, focus is chat rooms and discussion boards, targeted websites, customer service strategies like giving the customer what they want, communicate effectively with them like providing employees with customer service training. There is a like innovation strategy. It talks about possible events like radical breakthrough in the products, what is the change in technology, application of existing technology to new users, then strategic decisions about innovation like basic research, the how the product is being developed, then focus on the processes and process innovation, first movers, an organization that brings a product innovation to the market or uses a new process of innovation. Let us talk about the advantages and disadvantages of being first mover in the segment or the first mover in the industry. Like the advantages being there is a reputation for being innovative and industry leader. Like Apple has a reputation of being a innovative company and it is an industry leader in that segment. Google is also considered as an example of first mover or being innovative company and industry leader. Cost and learning benefit is always there. Control over scarce resources and keeping competitors from having access to them. There is always an opportunity to begin building customer relationship and customer loyalty. For example, in the smartphone segment, Apple is the leader. In the laptop segment, Apple is leader because of its innovation, because of its the technology which it has. Similarly, in several fronts, there are different companies which are having a leverage over the other companies because of the because of being fast mover with the technology, with the reputation. There are disadvantages like uncertainty over exact direction technology and market will go. Risk of competitors imitating innovators. There is always a financial and strategic risk, high development cost. Now let us focus on another strategy, that is Miles and Snow's strategy typology. Miles and Snow's strategy typology is an important tool to analyze the types of strategy based upon contingent factors or the factors which are there in the business environment inside and outside the firm. Consequently, they posit strategy as a function of three core organizational problems. One is entrepreneurship, operational, and administration. So, this framework helps organizations understand their competitive position in the market and to develop strategies accordingly. The framework has identified four different types of organizations. One is called the prospector, defender, analyzer, and reactor. Each type of organization has a different competitive strategy and requires different sets of practices and activities in order to be successful. The implication of Miles and Snow's competitive strategy is their chosen strategy dictates a company's structure, culture, and resource allocation and necessary human resource practices to be aligned with its competitive goals and environmental conditions. So, as we have identified, there are four different types of organizations. One are prospectors, analyzers, defenders, and reactors. Let us know in details about this specific Miles and Snow's strategy typology. Prospectors are learning organizations which are flexible, fluid, with a decentralized structure and a strong capability in research. They are continuously updating their processes, technology, and people, which that is why they are called learning. They have a learning orientation. Let us talk about analyzers. Analyzers are the ones who balances efficiency and learning with a tight cost control with flexibility and adaptability. They are flexible and very adaptable. Efficient production for stable product lines. Their emphasis is on creativity, research, risk taking, and innovation. Defenders, those who defend their products, efficiency oriented organizations with a centralized authority and a tight cost control. Their emphasis is on efficiency of production, low overhead cost, and close supervision and little employee empowerment. So, the defenders have a strategy of tight control by the center, whereas reactors no clear organizational approach. They are the organizations which design characteristics may shift abruptly depending on the instant or the current needs. So, what we have discussed so far, if we draw a comparison between Michael Porter's competitive strategy and Miles and Snow's strategic typology, which we have identified as the prospectors, defenders, analyzers, and reactors, if we look closely, with the Michael Porter's competitive strategy of differentiation, low cost leadership, we find that low cost leadership, Michael Porter's competitive strategy of differentiation, the focus on organizational design is there is a learning orientation which acts in a flexible, loosely knit way with strong horizontal coordination, strong capability in research, and values and builds in mechanism for customer intimacy and rewards employees' creativity, risk taking, and innovation. And low cost leadership, the organizational design emphasizes on efficiency orientation, strong central authority, tight cost control with frequent detailed control report, standard operating procedures, high efficient procurement, and distribution systems. There is a close supervision, routine tasks, limited employee empowerment. On the other hand, Miles and Snow's strategic typology emphasizes on prospectors. The organizational design emphasizes on learning orientation, flexible, fluid, decentralized structure, strong capability in research. The defender strategy of the organizations, the design elements are our organizational design emphasizes on efficiency orientation, centralized authority, tight cost control, emphasis on production efficiency, low overhead cost, close supervision, little employee empowerment. Analyzer's strategy and the organization with analyzer strategy has an organizational design which balances efficiency and learning, tight cost control with flexibility and adaptability, efficient production for stable products, emphasis on creativity, research, risk taking, and innovation. And the strategy of reactor organization, they have no clear organizational approach, design characteristics may shift abruptly depending on current needs. giving you some approaches and implications of Miles and Snow's strategies. Prospectors have an approach to focus on innovation and new market opportunities. They have characteristics of flexible structure, decentralized decision making, and a proactive stance on chance. Implications of this type of organizations, it requires continuous investment in adaptability to new trends, research and development. Defenders have an approach towards concentrating on specific market, protect existing products. Characteristics is all focus on operational efficiency, cost control and stable environment, and their implication is prefer to avoid risk and innovation in favor of stability and loyal customer base. Analyzers have an emphasis on or approach of blend the prospector and defender strategy to balance innovation and stability. Characteristics is proactively explore new opportunities while also protecting core products and markets. The implication of analyzers or the organizations with an analyzer strategy is carefully watch trends and quickly adopt successful innovation from others. Reactors, they have a lack of coherent strategy and simply react to what has already occurred in the environment. Characteristics are no clear focus on innovation or stability. They don't have any clear focus on innovation or stability. They are unprepared to shift in the market, and often they are less successful in the long run due to a reactive rather than a proactive strategy. What is the implication of Miles and Snow's strategy? The strategic alignment. Understanding the company's strategy is very crucial for aligning its structures, culture, processes to its goals. Resource allocation. Each strategy requires different patterns of resource allocation across production, marketing, and research and development. The human resources, the chosen strategy directly impacts human resources, requiring different skills, training, level of flexibility for employees. For example, analyzers need a mix of flexibility and stability, while defenders focus on efficiency and consistency. They need to have a consistent approach. Environmental context. What is the role of environment? The most effective strategy depends on industry and competitive environment, the level of competition in that industry. A strategy like Defender may be successful in a stable environment, but prospector or an analyzer might perform better in a dynamic environment. Let us discuss about certain common examples of prospector strategy. Prospectors are characterized by continuous innovation, risk taking, and proactive search for new market opportunities and products. They drive in dynamic environment where creativity is valued over efficiency. Amazon, for example, during its early days and ongoing innovation phase, Amazon started as an online bookstore but proactively diversified itself into numerous new areas, including cloud computing, digital streaming or Prime videos, and healthcare. It constantly pushes the boundaries of its traditional business to drive growth and enter into new market. Technology startups, companies in a highly dynamic industries such as early stage mobile phone or software development often adopt a prospector strategy, investing heavily in research and development to be the first to the market with new technologies. Some examples of defender organizations. Defenders take a conservative approach. They focus on maintaining a stable and secure market positions. By guarding their existing products and customer base, they prioritize operational efficiency and cost control with the established niche. For example, John Deere, this company has a strong, stable position in the agricultural equipment market. It focuses on efficiency and incremental improvement of its core product lines, defending its loyal customer base rather than seeking opportunities in unrealistic or unrelated industries. Paramount Pictures, the studio often relies on a steady stream of reliable, proven film concept rather than high risk blockbusters, focusing on consistent revenue and operational efficiency in film production. The organizations which have adopted analyzer strategy represent a balance between a prospector and defender, and they aim to maintain stability in their core businesses while also carefully exploring and adopting successful innovations from competitors. They are deliberate in their approach, waiting to observe market trends before committing. For example, Amazon, while it has a prospector like New Ventures, Amazon also has highly efficient established e-commerce operations. The company often lets other pioneers in the market, for example, the e-readers, and then enters into improved products like Kindle to capture market share. IBM historically has successfully balanced its core established business operations with the development of new offerings, leveraging its existing strength and core competence to expand into related areas like consulting and IT services. Lastly, to discuss about the reactor strategy of the organizations. It is not a proactive strategy, but rather as a inconsistent and unstable response to the environmental pressure or crisis. Reactors lack a coherent strategic plan. There is no plan, and they do not have a consistent or clear plan, and only make changes when focused by external events or external crisis or competitors' action. This approach often leads to poor performance and is generally an ineffective long term strategy. For example, Kmart often reacted to the moves of its competitors like Walmart without a clear and consistent strategy of its own, which ultimately led to lack of consistent direction and business declines. Dell Computer, after a period of success with its built to operate PC model, Dell was slow to adapt to changing consumer preference. For example, Dell's mobile devices and largely reacted to competitors' innovations rather than leading the change, causing significant profit challenges. So, how we are concluding with this discussion how strategy affects organizational designs. Strategy always have an impact on internal organizational characteristics. Managers must design the organizations to support the firm's competitive strategy. We have discussed about BCG matrix and Chandler's strategy with certain examples. We have further elaborated a discussion on Miles and Snow's four strategic types and its applications, and relevant examples for Michael Porter's competitive strategy and Miles and Snow's competitive strategy, Miles and Snow's strategic types, and the type of competitive strategies, industry structure relationship, and finally concluding the discussion how strategy follows structure. Thank you.